Live from Moscow, thanks for joining us today here on RT International. I'm Daniel Hawkins. Welcome to the programme. Now, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has reversed her decision to impose a 5-day lockdown over the Easter period. That had been announced earlier in the week. That the U-turn comes after a massive wave of criticism and protests. Just a day ago, the Chancellor's agenda was completely different.
We are once again at the stage of exponential growth of coronavirus cases. Thursday, the 1st of April, as well as the 3rd of April, should be defined as calm days, with extensive contact restrictions and a ban on gatherings from the 1st to the 5th of April. The idea was a mistake. There were good reasons for it, but it could not be implemented well enough in the short term. This mistake is my mistake alone. A mistake must be called a mistake, and above all, it must be corrected, and if possible, that has to happen in time. At the same time, of course, I know that this whole matter triggers more uncertainty. I regret that deeply and apologize to all citizens.
That's quite a difference from the early hours of Tuesday morning to shortly before lunch on Wednesday. A colossal U-turn from Angela Merkel. We have heard some people come out in support of what she's done. Markus Söder, the leader of the state of Bavaria and one of those who's vying to replace Angela Merkel as Chancellor, at least if you believe the rumours, at the upcoming Bundestag elections in September. He said he respected what the Chancellor had done in fronting up to what she admitted herself was a mistake. Then we've also heard from another one of those contenders to perhaps be Chancellor come September, Armin Laschet, the head of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, who pointed out that all of the other leaders of the 16 states of Germany were all present in that same meeting and that they all agreed to the same thing that Angela Merkel is now taking the rap for. Well, there weren't all voices of support. There's been some stinging criticism as well for this whole mess happening in the first place.
The logic of the planned individual measures is not revealed, and these can no longer be discussed. Full planes to Mallorca, empty outdoor restaurants in Germany. How can that be justified?
MPKs that last 15 hours, during which the essential decisions are made between 1 and 3 o'clock at night, run the risk that in the end not all the details are clarified, and thus communication becomes more difficult, especially on such sensitive issues.
We're already seeing what some would like to see as the fallout from this huge U-turn from Angela Merkel, with those in opposition calling for a vote of confidence on her government and Angela Merkel's position as Chancellor.
I call on the Chancellor to ask the question of confidence in accordance with paragraph 98 of the Rules of Procedure of the German Bundestag, because she has not only admitted her own inability. The lack of competence of her ministers Altmaier and Spahn is obvious, but because she has obviously lost the trust of part of her coalition factions.
Ahead of what are really crucial elections in September and a number of important local elections taking place beforehand, we're seeing no wasting of time when it comes to jumping on this U-turn for political capital. However, no matter how you cut this, it is not a good look for Angela Merkel or the German government.
We are joined live now by Rothfuss, geopolitical analyst, to get more on this. Mr. Rothfuss, thanks for coming on the programme. Good to have you with us today. Do you think Angela Merkel's decision is the right one for Germany?
Well, this decision can be seen as the right one, that she steps back from this harsh Easter lockdown. But the question is, if the Easter lockdown, which has a high price for all the people, for society at large, for the economy, then why could it be given up within a few hours later, calling it a bad idea and a mistake? I mean, this sounds to me like a policy of chaos, and I'm asking, who is driving this government? Who is behind these decisions, which can be revoked within only a few hours? This seems to be too chaotic to go on in this way, because the economy is at stake, the society is at stake. So this is what many people ask now within Germany, who trusted Angela Merkel before in the matter of fighting the pandemic.
Well, that's the key question, isn't it? Because do you think Angela Merkel has changed her decision because of the will of the people, because of the protests, the public backlash, Or do you think there's been other pressure to avoid this Easter lockdown?
Just today, I have seen a survey which showed that still a larger share of the population supports lockdowns. I cannot judge this survey, whether it's really serious, whether it's made in a scientific way, but I think the share of the people rejecting this policy of lockdowns, which is going on now for months in Germany, and which has really cost a high price to many sectors in society and above all in economy. I think the support is dwindling strongly. She sees that. And also within her own party, the CDU, the trust is dwindling because people see that she obviously has lost control of the things that are going on. And of course, the CDU has a self-interest in surviving the next elections. And so some people start to come out and question the leadership of Angela Merkel. But this is quite too late, in my view, because obviously not only Angela Merkel has to take the responsibility for the bad economic figures that we are already witnessing and that will come up in the coming years. It's the whole governing parties, CDU and SPD. And it will be quite late for them to convince society now that economy and even fighting a pandemic is in good hands. And I think Angela Merkel, she really helps to ditch the whole CDU by such chaotic policies. And she's paving the way for the rise of the Green Party. Maybe they will even provide the next chancellor in Germany after September. And this would be, of course, horrific for the CDU and in many ways also for whole Germany, if you look at the economic policies of the Green Party.
And some of Merkel's party were against the lockdown as well. Do you think that, plus the ongoing scandal about masks in Angela Merkel's party, is going to lead to friction, to some sort of split in the CDU?
Well, the mask scandal, of course, had a really deep impact in the population, and a great share of the population lost its trust in the governing CDU as they saw that while small business are vanishing and many people do not know from what to live in the future, and some parliamentarians gain even millions from mask deals. So this was really a deep fracture that went right through the union parties. This is true, and it has already shown its results in the state elections in Baden-Württemberg and Rheinland-Pfalz, but not even as strong as it should have, because many people had voted already by a letter voting system 2 weeks before the scandal came to light. So the results would have even been worse. They see that we don't need the emergency brake to fight COVID, but we need the emergency brake in Germany to fight this government destroying furthermore even our economic and society basis through a lockdown policy which internationally is quite doubted already. It has even been doubted before by the WHO in its effects. And if you look, for example, at countries like Belarus, like Sweden, even Russia now, and parts of the United States, the lockdown is relieved. And in many countries in some countries where it never had happened in that strict way, like in Germany, we see that the infection numbers didn't prove that it was wrong to keep the country open. There are other ways to fight a pandemic. There is medicine with you can cure also corona disease. So this debate needs to be opened up now with also critical scientists. They need to be heard also by the parliamentarian commissions, and they need to have more influence. They need to be heard above all in the talk shows and the media, because in Germany it's like you have only one narrative, and this narrative is pushed until the edge, and I think we have reached this edge now.
Yeah, still a long way to go from a return to normality across the world, not only in Germany. Rothfuss, geopolitical analyst, thanks for your time today. Good to have you on the programme.
Thank you.